Hey, and welcome everybody to Paranormal Filler. I'm at the Method at Bobby Mackeys with Brian J. Cano. It's been a really neat event so far. People are having experiences or getting some data. Basically, people, this is not your normal public event. He is literally running classes, seminars throughout the evening to teach people his methodology on collecting paranormal data. But that's not what we're doing in this segment. For our live segment, at least the first one here, I've got Gatekeeper Paranormal. Now, Gatekeeper is, I understand you all are the group that's in charge of the tours now here at Bobby Mackeys. Go through very quickly and just say your names.
I'm Kim.
Ben.
Mandy.
Amy.
Laura.
Okay, now, we were talking before the show, and some things, okay, everybody, let's clear up the Bobby Mackeys Music World legend. Starting with Pearl Bryant. Exactly, percentage-wise, 1 through 100%, how much percentage-wise would you say the legend of Pearl Bryant has to do with the property that we're sitting on now?
I'm going to go with
legend?
3. Let's go with 3%. Just
3%. 3 sounds good.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing to substantiate her ever having anything to do with this building or property.
And the head was not found in the drain downstairs. That head was never found.
Physically could not have been thrown down there at that time.
Because it wasn't even...
Well, there was a distillery here, so there would have been piping inside the drainage tunnels.
So you all have done a lot of research on the history of the building, and that was one that always bugged me. Was we'll be nice about it, but so let's leave out the one name as far as how the legend got tied so tightly to the building. It's one thing to have an area legend,
Sure. Right.
but that legend getting tied so tightly with this building where people come in. Well, we have someone in the group tonight looking for that specific spirit.
Right.
And, but you all agree with me that pretty much it was when it was publicized on Ghost Adventures.
That's kind of when it really blew up, I think.
Yeah. Basically,
firstly, yeah.
to put it in a nutshell, there was a book written about the property based greatly on stories by one or two people. Now, there was some research thrown into it to validate the legends, but there was never really historical research to put the legend with the property.
Right.
So we'll leave that there. But so everybody, leave the poor girl alone.
Yeah, leave poor Pearl alone. She's had enough problems.
But I have this theory. Okay, now another thing we talked about. You all actually agree. This was always my concept of the place. That there was just a lot of transient ghosts that come and go.
Yes.
Okay.
On the main floor.
Okay, on the main floor.
Yeah.
I'll grant you that. But one of the tourist ghosts, yes, that's what we call them, everybody, tourist ghost. Do you think, because now people come in here and they claim they get evidence from Pearl Bryant, from the other two dudes. My theory is that occasionally you'll have a ghost that wanders into a place, and if they listen to somebody saying, I want to talk to the spirit of Pearl Bryant, they go, I can do that.
Sure, why not?
Sure.
So, now, yeah, I mean, they got time. But now, now one thing I've always been fuzzy on, now has the legend of Johanna, has that ever been validated in any way as far as that she was a real person?
The only validation that we've ever found was from a death certificate from 1914 of a Johanna Reagan from the area who committed suicide via poisoning, which matches with the story. The timelines don't sync up, though. We've never found a Johanna from the Latin Quarter era, but that could have been a stage name. It could be that she didn't exist at all. We don't know.
Right, okay. Now, is, well, okay, you all are doing the tours, but you're obviously also deeply involved in researching the building.
Right.
Collecting data, doing paranormal investigating here. And have you all encountered anything or collected any evidence that you attribute to that part of the legend?
I don't know that we've actually found anything. I mean, I've actually smelled the phantom smells in the basement. The roses.
Perfume,
I've actually smelled that twice.
See, but that's the thing. Okay, now we know this place was showgirls and everything
Sure,
else.
right.
So once again, it might be it might be perfume that you smell.
Right.
It might be some ghost putting that out there.
Sure.
But so it's, you all being here, you still don't have anything that makes you think Johanna is the one that's haunting the place.
Well, we can't say who's here just because out of all of the EVPs
Right.
we've ever collected, no one has ever said their name, male or female or kid.
But we need to work on that.
That's what we say too.
Everybody, ihuntghost.com, go to the old content section. You have to type in ihuntghost.com/content, and you will find the old content that I haven't updated yet, but it's got, look for the Loretta clip. And so I'm going to work with these people on getting names. Now let's talk about the basement. Because you say that it seems to be the same ones down there.
Right.
Versus up here when it feels more random.
Mm-hmm.
What makes you think, what data have you collected or what experiences have you had that make you think that you've got regular tenants in the basement?
It's the same energy that I feel a lot. I don't know about them.
The shuffler's always down there.
The shuffler's down
That's
there.
one we always hear him down there.
And the female that I hear audibly and catch on EVPs, it sounds exactly the same. Mm-hmm. She's kind of weird.
Well, I mean, she's a ghost. Okay. Now, I'm trying most of the time I'm investigating, I'm doing this. I've really got to do a good investigation, I think, one time here. I had more experiences and feelings up here that night. Now, as far as your all's experience, does more go on in the basement, or does more, and I'm talking quantitative, not even quality.
What?
You haven't talked yet.
Well, I'm sorry. I think up here a lot of times is more active. But then again, the basement's active too. So I'd almost say 60-40 up here.
So it's really close.
I would say so too.
Yeah, it's almost equal as for the activity that I've found here.
But it varies, though. So if the basement's active, usually the main floor will be kind of quiet. And vice versa. At least in my experiences.
Now, of course, now everybody, Bobby Mackeys has a no provoking rule. Mm-hmm. I do think most of the stories that I've heard about people that had really bad experiences here, I've always said about this place, I think you get out of it what you bring into it.
Right.
Absolutely.
Most of them, if you dig a little bit, they were provoking in one way or another. Even though you try to police that, is it an ongoing problem where people have watched a little too much TV?
Well, with our 5 hours, we're not with them.
Right.
We have to be on the property, but we tell them the rule, and but we're not there to really police it.
Yeah, 2 hours. We are with them every step.
Right.
So, and so there's absolutely no provoking on 2 hours at all. But
out loud anyway.
Out loud. Yeah.
But a lot of them ask. They'll ask.
Yeah, I've had people
and
ask.
they're usually really excited. They want to do it.
They want to experience
that.
the same thing that Zach and all them experienced when they were here. That's what they come in here looking for, and that's just.
But
not
I think
always
if you asked Zach and them, there was consequences with that.
Yeah, they
absolutely.
I mean, I don't guess Zach ever has come back, and Nick finally came back.
Nick finally came back, but yeah, the other guys haven't.
Yeah. That's what I was. Of course, Brian wanted to keep the event. He likes to come in open-minded, if not skeptical. He didn't want a lot of preconceived. But one of the things I was telling people, okay, not only is this place on your bucket list, a lot of you black-shirted teens, and no offense, there's a lot of dark shirts sitting here around me. Although I did wear black tonight. I did, for the listeners. It's a black Hawaiian shirt, but it is black. I don't know where I was going with this. Oh, yeah. we were talking about provoking, and what was I talking about? I completely
You were
got
talking
sidetracked.
about, you were starting with Brian and
Oh, okay.
preconceived
And I
notions.
said, I was trying to kind of put a challenge out there to bring some people in, that this is, if you want a scary place, this is the place that I've heard more people say they won't go back to.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to validate that too much because I've never had a bad experience here. You know.
I don't think any of us have had a bad experience, but I've
If
been
we did,
chased
we
out.
wouldn't be
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
We wouldn't.
Well,
Yeah, I
We've
mean, if
never-
it got dangerous, that's
Right.
one
I've
thing.
never felt like I was in danger.
Yeah.
Now, I felt like there was something that really did not want me in a particular area,
Right.
and that's when I'm like, okay, and I'll walk the other direction.
Well, I mean,
But-
I felt that way in the Walmart shoe department.
But I've never felt like I was physically in danger, or that this place was evil or had demons in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I like to tell people. It's a couple old guys that like to hang out and scare people
That's
downstairs in the basement.
Well,
That's
there's one not so nice guy down there
Yeah.
that I don't like to deal with. But, you know, there's been a couple times where I've been chased out of here after a tour.
And none of us will go in the basement by ourselves.
Except
I
Ben.
Ben,
I'm
he's,
I'm
he's
close
the
for
only
Cohen.
one.
I would
Yeah.
sleep in the basement.
Yeah, he would.
Well, now I'm going to confess. The usual place I hunt is about an hour and 15 minutes from here, and I'll stomp through that building all night. But if I'm the one that has to go in last and turn the lights off and everything and shut the building down, I catch myself walking a little faster.
Yeah.
When it's fun. I think it's when I'm around other people. It's not that I feel strength in numbers. It's that I know that I have to puff my chest out.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, but the only thing more embarrassing than being frightened in front of other people is running out of the building screaming like a girl.
Yeah.
So, that's when I try to really...
We've had our fair share of experiences in this building, without a doubt. But I don't think there's been any time in the last, since we've been doing this, that we've ran out of this building screaming bloody murder.
Never screaming.
Never.
Screaming. Hurriedly rushed out, and I think we've all gotten to the point where we get all our paperwork and everything done while the groups are still here.
Yeah.
And then leave.
But sometimes if I don't, I'll put everything on the counter, and I'll go drop the money, and I'll walk real fast, grab all my stuff, and run. Make sure it's all together, and roll off really fast out the
I
front
think
door.
what's more scary than anything is the fact that you're by yourself. We do these tours by ourselves, so you're here late at night by yourself. That's more scary than
Right.
dealing
Yeah,
with
walking
what's
to our
inside the
car
building
is
by
scary.
far
Yeah.
none.
Yeah,
That doesn't bother me. Being here alone sometimes can be unnerving.
I'm just worried about meeting my guests. Once I realize that they're normal, sane people and they're not going to hurt me, I'm
Yeah, but how sane can they be? They want to see ghosts.
Everybody in the paranormal field is out in left field.
Yes.
Some of
that's
them
true.
are playing closer to the fence than others. But, I mean, let's
well,
be
then
very
just
clear
not
about
going to
that.
hurt me part.
Okay. Well, that's a good rule to live by.
Yeah.
And I do mean live. Is there still there was a while there, of course this was after the TV shows, that this place was booked months, years in advance. You almost were booked almost a year in advance. Has it quieted down now that some of the hype from the original TVs, or does it still stay pretty
not
booked
booked.
ahead?
I mean, no. I mean, it's not completely booked. I mean, there's always availability.
Okay.
I would imagine right after the shows were here, it picked up a lot.
Oh yeah.
But now, no, you
time
can
of
pretty
season
much,
too.
Yeah.
October we get really busy.
Oh yeah, well yeah, Halloween, yeah. Now of course right now, if anybody was wondering, the buildings, it's funny, everybody's complaining about how hot it is in here. Compared to some of the other times I've been here, this feels nice.
Yeah.
Oh, this isn't normal for a tour.
Oh no, it's usually
This is
no air.
nice.
Yeah, normally we don't have anything on because there's too much noise.
Yeah.
That's-
So we have
Normally
everything
it's
off.
sauna.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. That's been my experience. One time I came in here and I froze to death.
Yep.
Yep.
And the other times I remember it was just miserable hot.
Yes.
So that wasn't just me. They have left the air conditioning on so that we can survive. But I will say the parking lot is directly on the face of the sun. So
pretty close.
now is I guess groups report back to you all. A lot of them, what they capture and everything. What is some of the more impressive evidence that you've seen captured? Seen, now not heard. Let's start with the scene.
We had one group where they, on the stairs to nowhere, they captured a purple mist where you were able to see two faces. I think that's probably one of the more impressive photos that I've seen.
See, I like the one that Mandy's group captured where they, over here in this alcove over here, it started out a shadow figure and it progressively became a full-bodied apparition.
Yeah, that was actually
Yeah, that would
recently.
kind of impress
Yeah.
me.
That was recent here.
I've
love
had
to
a
see
lady. I'll show them to you. I had a lady take a picture in the monster room. We have a cat named Shadow who likes to haunt the place. I named him Shadow. Got a good picture of that, and I have another picture of what looks to be like a woman down in the basement. Her back's to us, but she's kind of got her head cocked back looking at us. I mean, it seems to be full facial features. We have another one that I looked at that we call it the ghosty pic because it looks like a ghost selfie. But, you know, that's that can be left up to interpretation on that one, but it's just kind of a neat little pic. Some real bright blue orbs that I've caught, or that other people have caught and sent to me, that I can't find an explanation for. That listening to Laura.
Anytime I hear the word orb, because for one thing, environmental factors in this building, you've got something that people aren't used to having anymore in photos: cigarette smoke.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and even though the place is fleshed out, I'm just saying there's particulate matter in this place that you won't find anyplace else.
You two get along great.
But you know, my thing on orbs has always been, first, I cannot dismiss them because I am not it is above my pay grade to tell a ghost what they can and cannot do.
Right.
You know, whether the orb is a ghost or an orb is a ghost going, hey, I'll make an orb, you know, I don't know. But I refuse to stake my reputation on anything that I can recreate by shaking a piece of toilet paper in front of the camera. So,
I would say 99% of orb, especially orb photos, are not
right.
anything.
Well, no, I agree
But
with that.
I've seen in this building an orb
Yeah, now when you see
with
them,
my
it's
eyes.
different, right?
Yeah. Only
Right.
once.
But the one that you saw looks like the picture I have.
Yeah, it was blue. It was
Okay.
about the size of a softball, and it was right over on the other side of the bar, and it was the size of a softball, and it just appeared, and then it was gone.
Yeah, I don't mean to lump that together. When you see something, it's completely different.
Right.
So now, audio-wise, I'm trying to remember. I didn't get anything great audio-wise on the time that I was here. What are some of the better audio clips that either you've captured yourself or you've heard?
I think. Go ahead, Ken.
I'd have to say the one when we were first down, the one we put in the well room.
Southern Draw one.
Yep, that's probably by far the best one.
That's on our YouTube page.
And
yeah,
we've got one
it
we're
was
waiting.
a full sentence.
The one that
Yeah.
you've recently captured is by far the best, but we're waiting to verify it for sure.
Yeah, the one she's talking about was a long sentence.
Excuse me.
We were in the basement. We were getting ready to walk out, and we heard a female voice. It was speaking really slow, but what it said was, "She does not like all these people in here."
Neat.
It's a long
And
sentence.
you really don't
long.
even have to amplify it or do
Yeah,
anything
you
to
don't.
enhance it. It's you just
And that
don't
was
hear
in the
sentences
basement.
like that. It was very.
Right.
We really liked it. There's another one we caught when it was myself, Laura, and another former member of our group. I won't tell you what we were doing down there. We were just doing a session. But you hear me talk, and then you hear this other person talk, and then just out of nowhere you get, I think, probably the creepiest voice we've ever caught say, "Who's there?"
But it was a real gravelly voice.
Yeah.
And it was real, it was like, "Who is there?" It was a real, like, almost accusatory.
Hateful
Yeah,
type,
hateful.
yeah, it was-
"Who is there?"
That was creepy.
Now, just to taint any future investigators that might be listening, let's start with the upstairs. Is there any particular place that, rather than reports to you, I want to know where you all have had the most experiences, feelings, whatever. Now, I'll start you off by saying, I always seem to be drawn to this area here, not all the way back against the wall, but really just right through these doors in this little alcove here. That's where I always feel drawn, is right here through
Well,
these
that's actually where one of the times that I was chased out. I saw this white something come out of the door that goes to Carl's apartment and just slam into the wall. We get a lot of activity in the ballroom.
Which is basically on past.
Which is, another,
right.
50 feet or so. But yeah, there's the left-hand corner in the back, we call it the creepy corner. You see a lot of shadow people originating from there.
A lot of noises back there.
Yeah. Sometimes you'll hear what sounds like somebody playing pool when nobody's back there. You'll hear banging on the walls. Mm-hmm. You'll see the shadow people. You'll hear the voices. You'll hear conversations, but if you go anywhere near it, it stops.
Yeah.
Seen shadows on the stage, darting in and out from the backstage doorways.
Doors rattling.
Oh yeah, they've had the doors rattle.
But now, me personally, I've had more activity downstairs. I mean, I do have stuff upstairs, but...
Okay, well, let's talk about downstairs. In the basement, I'm trying to think. I generally... I guess as far as what I would call interaction with spirit, and this is on the psychic level, so everybody just forget about the whole data and proof thing. It was really back towards the back wall, all the way back as far as you can go. Not so much in the rooms, just out in the, in the main alleyway. I'm often drawn to not the, used to be called the room of faces. The little alcove just past that. It's I think I'll remember it's got the worst floor in the building because there's like you'd be walking along, there's just all of a sudden there's a step that you can't see. And there's a big post. You can see some of the wooden frame of the.
Oh, we're talking behind the dressing room area.
He's talking about behind the barrels.
Yeah.
Back for
okay.
Yeah.
Where do you all have the most intense?
I get sick a lot in the wall of faces room. I usually get pretty bad headaches.
That's
in
probably
there.
mold.
Yeah, but
that is a nasty ass room.
It really is.
Y'all can call that the wall of faces all you want. To me, that's mold. That is black mold.
If we're talking about personal experience that I've not been able to back up, we had a meeting back a couple months ago, maybe February. It's when we went down into the basement.
Yeah, I know what you're trying to say.
And we walked in, and I hadn't gone in the basement for a couple years before then, but we walk in, they're in front of me with the camera, they're taking film. I'm behind them, and I'm looking at my camera, and then I look slightly to my right, and just right there was this, what looked like a full-figure shadow of a person. It looked like it was coming right at me. I don't remember. I think I slightly ran forward just because of the surprise of something being right there.
Yeah. The startle factor. There's a fear factor where you actually fear, but most of us have experienced the startle factor. I mean, I've been startled by a kitchen cabinet. I mean, the door opened and I'm standing there looking at it, asking the ghost to interact with it, and it does it. And I'm like, well, actually, I said a really bad word, and then I look back on it and I said, dumbass, that was what you wanted. And then, and then you're freaking out over it. It was a cabinet door. It opened, big
I've
deal.
had a lot of the same experiences where that one entity I don't like to deal with, he brushes me. But he never touches me, but it gets right in my face.
Now, I don't know if it's the same spirit, but I've heard it, and several other people have heard it. We call him the shuffler. And all you'll hear is on the floor down there. And he likes usually to come up behind you, because you hear that up behind you. I heard him. I was in the well room, and I was with a group, and we all heard it. And the sound actually traveled from one side of the room to the other, and we caught the briefest glimpse of a shadow kind of hunched over through the well room window as it went by. That was freaky. I mean, that was probably one of my best experiences in the basement.
Now, how did the well get such a bad reputation?
I don't know.
I believe from Carl.
Yeah.
When him and Bobby found it, they had it dug up, and supposedly Carl said it opened a portal to hell.
Okay.
And then, of course, there's the rumors that Pearl Brian's head was thrown down there.
Well, yeah, that all.
But I mean, it just all builds on top of each other.
Right,
and then Pearl's head being thrown down in there, added onto that, somebody says, oh, it
And
was a satanic
slaughterhouse.
ritual.
Well, see, now, okay, now here's what I always worried about over the years. You're talking about the room with the Hall of Faces,
Right.
and in particular, Hell's Gate, the hole, whatever you want to call it. I call it. It looks to me like it's a drain that's been filled in, but
It is.
okay. Because after the place became famous, so many people have come in here wanting to use it as a doorway to hell,
Right.
as a shortcut to talk to Satan and whatever. You was talking about the bad feelings in the room of faces.
Right.
The bad energy I get from the room, I almost wonder if in other words, it's not built into the room. I know there's been some Ouija boards and seances, and yeah, you've obviously done it.
What? Never.
Not us.
Never. You kidding me? That's bad stuff right there.
But I think there's been some people try to utilize the energy of the building
Yeah.
Right.
in ways that are not wholesome.
Right.
And that's, in other words, I don't want to say the building itself is evil, but at a psychic, metaphysical level, I almost feel like it's been rooted here, is the way I would put it.
I feel like it's just this area. Because, I mean, there's been a lot of crazy, tragic
Tragedy.
things that have happened within a 6-mile radius of this property. Just, even before anything was built on the property, people used to be hanged here all the time. So it just seems like, I don't know if it's just coincidence that tragedies happen and it just happens to be centered around this area, or if this area attracts it. This property in particular.
Which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Right.
Exactly.
Once a place gets a reputation, and then people slog in more bad energy behind it. And as I've said before, it's a paranormal cliche: limestone shelf, river, 50 foot, 40 foot behind it. Railroad tracks practically go through the building. Power lines older than Methuselah, and when you have limestone this next to the river, you mentioned the underground water flow here.
Right.
That's everywhere. Anytime you have a river that's cut through limestone, you're going to have underground rivers, creeks, streams, whatever you want to call it, flowing just everywhere. So there's a lot of energy to be carried, and but now as far as me walking through the basement, I've always been least impressed with the drain, that's
the way we feel.
Now, the jail cell that's 10 feet from it, that's a different story.
Yeah, no, I've had some creepy feeling. I'm not going to say I've contacted anything there, but I've always said I don't dispute that the place is haunted.
Right.
Right.
I feel that, for whatever reason, it draws activity. But I never really encountered, but like the drain. For one thing, it's the best lit place in the whole damn basement. Because they put a little spotlight on it so that, you can, it's the gateway to hell. And so that kind of, to me, that just blows it right there. Now, in closing this up, I want to, and this will be metaphysical. Do you feel like the spirits that wander the place would rather none of this was going on, or do you feel like they're at least putting on a show for the people, or do you feel like they're perfectly happy with the ghost hunting? What is your
I think
feeling
it
on
depends on the area.
I get the feeling that most of them they just don't want to be bothered.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Not that they hate people coming in here. They just don't want to be bothered with a bunch of people in their area.
Asking the same questions over and over.
Questions.
We did all come up with a interesting theory earlier tonight, though, about EVP sessions. We were talking about how we do EVP sessions, and Brian is teaching pretty much the classic EVP. He's got a really good method, don't get me wrong, but he has, so much quiet time between each question. And I was telling Gatekeeper that we actually experimented with rehearsing a little conversation if we didn't have something else to talk about, because we were getting some of our best EVPs when we weren't doing EVP sessions.
Right.
And then it occurred to me, and everybody agreed, whether they really agreed or not. Think about it, listeners. If you're walking around a building whispering and being quiet and having quiet time, why wouldn't the ghost assume, ooh, we should be quiet too? So, I suggest everybody do your EVP sessions just as loud as you can. Party on, dude. Get them riled up. And maybe they'll shout into the microphone instead of doing those little pussy yeses and nos like they're afraid they're going to get caught. So, in close, I do want to close up with where can the people find you all on the internet to find out more about your group and what you do?
We're at gatekeeperparanormal.com. All the information's on there. If you want to book a tour at Mackeys, there's a button you can click, and it'll take you right to the reservation page.
You can also, it also connects with our Facebook, our Twitter,
and YouTube.
And YouTube page. Okay. Well, thank you all much
Thanks for having us.
for sitting with
Thank
me
you.
and having a good time. Hello, friends. Are you exhausted with life? Resent your children? Maybe your husband is cheating on you. Get yourself a tarot reading with Ken Boggle. He can provide you with the clarity, guidance, and answers you need. That's tarotbyken.com. He makes things seem less shitty. Hello, now this is the first of my interviews with people here with us at Bobby Mackeys tonight. What we're trying to do is we're trying to collect some of the personal experiences that people have had. And I'm with Tina Fleming. Tina Fleming is one of my followers on Twitter, and just now met her 2 minutes ago. But she has had 2 experiences so far. My understanding is one was before you even got here.
Yes.
And then one during what they called quiet time. That's when kind of, in Brian's the method, he wants everybody to familiarize themselves with the building, the noises, the ambiance. So let's start with what happened before you got here.
So every once in a while when I'm coming to a location, activity will happen at my own house. And I was having a visit from my mother, who's 75, and she came over last Sunday. We were talking about this trip specifically because my daughter and me were going alone. And we talked about coming to Bobby Mackeys, and my mother and me were standing in my kitchen, and adjacent to my kitchen is a room that we call the kids' room. It has a sliding glass door. It's pretty large. Leads out to a big deck, so it's lots of sunlight coming in that room. So we were standing in the kitchen talking about it, and the next thing I know, I see this, black mass block out the light that was coming through those glass windows, and, or the glass sliding door, and my son was in that room. My son's only 7 years old. So, I looked at my mother to see maybe if she saw it, and she said, "Oh, I saw it, baby." She said, "I would have never said anything if you didn't say something to me." And I said, "Okay, so you did see something." And she said, "Yeah," she goes, "It blocked out all the light." I said, "Yeah, it did." So I walked into the room to make sure my son was okay, and he was fine. Then I walked out back to see maybe if there was something that had gone by the house. And with neighbors out back, but we're all separated by fences, and I had a pretty large yard. I thought maybe it was a plane, or I couldn't figure it out. There was nothing out there. I don't think a plane could do that anyway, to block out the light like that.
No, it'd be.
Not in the house.
Yeah, I'm skeptical about a lot of things, but I won't blame it on a plane. Now, just to get a little background, now, do you otherwise consider yourself sensitive, empathic? Empathic, okay.
Yeah, but not like sensitive, like where
Okay.
I can pick up things. But when I came back into the house, I said to my mother, "I feel like something's here," and we both got goosebumps at that moment.
Okay.
So,
Now, now you said this does happen sometimes before you go on
yes.
an investigation. Mm-hmm. Incidentally, mine very rarely shows up at the house. Mine usually meets me in the car on the way here.
Oh.
So I'm familiar with things, the feelings, the contact you can get. But now you don't normally experience any activity
in my house otherwise?
in your house otherwise.
We do have some activity otherwise. Sometimes we'll go for a couple weeks where we're pretty active, and then we'll go for months with nothing.
See, that's one of the things I almost hate to attribute that to where you're going if you're having activity otherwise.
Exactly.
I'm not saying your house is haunted,
Right.
but I'm saying if you are empathic, empaths and sensitive and light workers often attract it's like the porch light bugs to the flame and all that. So, okay, now what happened after you got here?
Well, after we got here, we were having quiet time, and that hallway back there where the men's room is, seems like people have been talking about that. So I kind of wanted to go back there and sit down for a little bit. So I went back there, we sat down, and when the lights went out, within about a minute or two, I could see something out of my peripheral vision to my left. And it was kind of like getting so black, like it was covering my eye. And I was like, sitting there. My daughter was sitting down the hallway a little bit, and she is more sensitive than I am. And she turned around and she said, "Mom, there's something right next to you." And she said, "Oh my God, it moved." So it moved from my left side to my right side. And she said it looked like a white face. She said it was scary as hell. To her, she got up and she ran. It scared the crap out of me because I could feel something there. I never felt it move over to my right side, but she said it did. So that was, but my heart was beating, the hair, the back of my neck stood up, so.
Man, but it was neat because it was a shared experience.
Yes.
So, okay, there's our first experience, and that last one was reported on both the feeling level and the visual level, and the night's just begun. We're just now doing EVP sessions, and they've not even left the top floor yet. So I'll have more reports to you later in the show. Okay, now we're sitting with a couple of the attendees talking about an EVP session that Brian just led. And we're on break, so you'll hear some background voices. Who am I speaking to here?
Yvonne. Katie.
Okay. This was a strange EVP session because basically it was a recording, from what I heard, it was a recording of people talking about another EVP session. In other words, they kind of repeated the questions. Is that what I heard, or?
A question was asked about Pearl.
Okay. Go ahead and tell the story.
It was a long question. What was do you remember what it was? Was it about her head?
It was a question about the family. They wanted confirmation as to where she was.
Well, go ahead and bring that VHS video camera out.
It was asked earlier, and she was asking it again to see if we could get another.
Okay, that's what it was. Okay.
That's fine.
And then there was 5 of us that said we heard something, and each of us heard something different. I heard, "Fuck you."
It's internet radio.
Okay, good. Brian heard "kill me."
I heard "in the basement."
And someone else heard "I did."
So there was something obviously there phonetically, but it was still not good. And honestly, they haven't went back for the skeptics out there. They haven't sat down with the earphones and ran it through the filters, and they haven't. They're just using one speaker. As I've talked about on the show, I like playing it on. I have found that you'll be amazed at the difference in listening to it on that versus the cheap speakers on your laptop.
Oh, yes.
Just because of the different ranges the different speakers will pick up. But so they're already getting some evidence here, and the night has only begun. Okay, we're back with Yvonne. She's been down in the basement session. Yvonne, what happened with you?
We were doing a EVP session down where the hole is. We were getting words, one, together. It wanted us all as one. So Brian had us all in the room and hold hands. And as soon as we joined hands, I could feel, I guess, energy, you would say. And then on the right side of my body, it became cold. And the lady on the right of me also felt cold. Then I felt tingling. And I'm talking the whole time it's happening, describing what was happening. It was in my hand, went down my leg to my foot, and then I felt a firm hit on my back. It didn't hurt, but it was a big tap, so I definitely knew something was there. And I jumped and I squeezed both the people next to me's hands. So
another personal experience at Bobby Mackeys. Okay, listeners, we're at the Method at Bobby Mackeys with Brian J. Cano. Now, basically, it is 10:25 as I record this. What it is, the group itself has been down in the basement area doing EVP sessions and doing their stuff down there. And while they were down there, they had some interesting experiences that they wanted to report. Right now, I'm speaking to Cassie. Cassie, what happened to you?
We were sitting in the wall of faces, reviewing the tape and listening to see if we could hear anything. And I feel a small touch on my side near my butt, and a few seconds later it got harder, and he rubbed me like a rub kind of grab on my leg.
So it was more of a, he meant to grab your butt.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I felt it.
Okay. Well, but it stopped there. Did you move? Did you get up? How did you react?
When I felt him touch me first, I just sat there for a second to make sure it wasn't anything on me.
Right.
And then it got harder, and I told them that I just got grabbed, and they immediately brought the equipment over to see if there was anything over there, and they couldn't see anything.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now I'm talking to Amanda, and Amanda apparently got to, the way it was described to me, sit in the hole. So apparently Amanda drew the short straw on, did you volunteer to get in Hell's Gate?
I volunteered, yeah.
She, this lovely young lady, what would make you volunteer to sit in the gateway to hell?
It seemed like a good idea at the time.
It doesn't sound like that, but go ahead. First of all, impressions walking up to this hole, which it's a hole. It's not, they call it a well and everything else. There's a hole in the floor that people have threw rock into to fill it up so that you won't fall and break your full neck. Now, just approaching it, being around it, what were your first impressions?
Well, it didn't seem like it was bad energy, so that's why I volunteered to get into it. When I got in, it was just really cold. There was no energy around it. So.
Now, one thing people don't realize about that, this might explain the coolness. The floor actually sets up above it, so you've got a void there that collects cool air from the ground. So that probably was the coolest place in the basement. How did it feel as you were, pardon the expression, sitting in the hole?
It felt fine. I was just chilling in there.
So all the people that think that is, so you're convinced, I'm taking it from you, you're convinced that is not the gateway to hell.
Correct.
Okay. Now, did you have an audience while you were doing this? What was everybody else doing while you were sitting there?
Well, they were doing, I believe it was the Ovilus. There was some apps on the iPad that they were doing. The app did say to gather together. It said one. So we all gathered together as I was in the hole. He made me stand up, and we were all holding hands, and then an electric shock went through one of the team members. And then she believes she got touched down her back. It's basically all that happened.
But it happened around you and not to you.
Yeah.
So you might have been in the safest place in the basement. Well, thank you, Amanda, for sharing with us.
Thank you.
And now we're talking to the man himself, Brian J. Cano.
Hey Wes, it's been a great night here at Bobby Mackeys. I gotta say, we're going into our 7th hour of investigating, and this crew is a stalwart one if I've ever seen it. These guys have been into the EVP sessions. We've been doing our baseline sweep, quiet time. I've been taking them through the actual method of the investigation, and in so many of these events, you don't really get the time to do it properly. It's quick, rotate. Here, we've had the time to do things the right way, and I think everybody's learning a lot. Definitely, as you've been talking to some of the guests, there have been experiences. Some people getting scratched, some people having other sensations, a few good EVPs, a photograph. So this is my first time at Bobby Mackeys, and so far it seems to be delivering.
This is one of those places I never know how good it's going to deliver. I've had teams come in here and say they got absolutely anything, and I've had others that just everything with the walls were bleeding. So especially with a public event, you just never know how it's going to go. But I'm pleased that it's living up to its reputation for you. I'm also impressed with the group because even though you've been on these public hunts,
right?
Generally, when you have people having experiences, especially intense experiences, you've usually got one or two real whiners in the bunch, drama queens. I've not seen that with the people that are here.
Well, you know what it is? I feel like at so many of the other events, it's like an amusement park. They're there for the roller coaster thrill. So when something happens, they're allowed to go, oh my God, this happened. And again, not to say that there's anything malicious or ill-intended about it, but the people kind of just let them roll with it. Here, the reason I do the method tour is that I want people to think more and do less. I want people to take a step back, and when something happens, I want them to look at it critically, and I want them to look at it instead of just jumping to the conclusion of, oh, it's a ghost or something happened. Let's look at the logical reasons. So I feel like everyone here has been taking those lessons to heart, and when stuff has been happening, instead of, oh my God, I got scratched, they're like, hey Brian, all right, something's on her back, she's got scratched, what do you think it's from? And I'm impressed with this group. It's been a really great group.
So,
I'm sure he'd be happy. Oh, I got the penny.
you may even hate using the word, but so I'm getting the impression that that enough stuff has happened in such a way that you are convinced there's something going on here. I don't like to use the word haunted. I hate to throw that out there, but do you feel like, okay, I know when you came in you didn't want to hear all the claims, you didn't go back and watch the TV shows that had already been here. You wanted to keep a very open mind about it.
Right.
But so I think you said that it's living up to its reputation.
Well, some reputation. I mean, a lot of the reputations you hear lately come from a single TV show that, again, hey, it's entertainment. Be entertained by it. I feel that the things we've experienced so far, the classic example I give at all my lectures is the water in the glass lecture, and it's about saying, okay, we're looking for truth. We're not looking for ghosts. We're not looking for spirits. We're looking for truth, and sometimes the truth there's nothing. So the old adage is the glass half full or half empty comes down to perspective. But the only truth about it is there's water in that container. Doesn't matter whether it's half full or half empty. So here we've been having, all right, is there activity at Bobby Mackeys? Is Bobby Mackeys haunted? Well, Bobby Mackeys is that glass to say whether it's haunted by demons or it's mildly haunted. That's the perspective of the people experiencing it. But you know what? There's definitely liquid in the glass. There's definitely activity here.
There is activity here. So what do you got coming up after this?
Well, right now we're kind of on one of our breaks. It's like I said, we're going into our 7th hour. I'm letting everyone unwind a little bit and just kind of relax. I'm going to be breaking them up into smaller groups. Up until this point, I've got them all in one group, and I've been taking them through certain lessons and things that I've learned. And now I want to kind of let them explore on their own and see what they come up with, and see if that experience is any more of that roller coaster ride we were talking about.
And on a final note on this, I want to point out that yes, even though they haven't been back in touch with him, Brian J. Cano will be at the Scarefest in Lexington, Kentucky. That is what I've been told by the Scarefest.
I'm looking forward to that. And actually, right now, as I'm here at Bobby Mackeys, there's currently a Haunted Collector Marathon going on Destination America, and they're playing us from 12 noon today to 6 in the morning. So Haunted Collector is going strong on Destination America. We're going strong here tonight. There's just, you cannot get rid of me tonight.
I've actually been... I love the show, don't get me wrong. I enjoyed the show. But I'm trying to wrap my head around why whenever Destination America plays it, they play like half the season, 2/3 of the season.
Again, they don't
consult you.
They don't consult me. They don't talk to me. They get tons of free advertising from me. So you're welcome, Destination America. But I feel like they might have bought like a package, like whoever was selling it or whoever they got it from was like, here's season 1 and then some, because it seems like they're playing the same season 2 episodes over and over. But I don't know if they're negotiating to get more, or if they plan to, or I know they're doing some work with John. John's going to be going over to England with the Paranormal Lockdown crew to film their Halloween special. But, Destination America doesn't tell me anything.
Well, we should have some more segments as the night goes on. I'll still be here. And everybody that missed the event, we had a good crowd, but we weren't at capacity. And if Bobby Mackeys was on your bucket list, all I can say is you missed it. This has been as good of an organized public hunt as you could possibly want. So, thank you, Brian.
Oh, thanks, Wes. Thanks for being here.
Good luck with the rest of the night.
All right, I'll see you in a bit.
Paranormal